Welcome to this session where we are going to talk about joy and savings. And these topics are together because sometimes people think that if they want to enjoy life, then they cannot be focusing on savings or they cannot think of the future. Or other people think that if they are saving, they cannot enjoy life or they cannot like have any experience or something like that beyond what they think that is responsible to save as much as possible. And none of those extremes are what we are looking for in wellness, because in wellness, welfare, well-being, what we are looking for is a life that you can enjoy in the present and also enjoy in the future. When you are older, when life goes on, you want to be having your structure on life, your good dynamic for your food, for your housing, for all those needs that we have been talking about. But you also want to be enjoying your life during the process. So these topics are very important, are basically the other part of organizing the money. One part is to optimize and organize our monthly expenses and these things that are recurrent, but also considering the future and considering the enjoyment of the process of life and even of savings. So I'm gonna share my screen to start um, with this topic more fully. And so here we go. There is a very important mindset when we are talking about savings, and is understanding that the relationship with money is a relationship as similar as with another person or another resource, or yeah, like the relationship with time, the relationship with your job, or the way that you work for this planet or your family, or the way that you create value in the planet. um, is all related about how you appreciate money, how you understand money, and how much you hold it with you without becoming obsessive, right? Without becoming obsessed with money, but at the same time taking care of it as you value it. Because the more you appreciate things, people, experiences, the more you hold in your life, but also you enjoy them. So with money, it's important that we organize it, that we take decisions properly, that we understand the value that is being exchanged and the way that we appreciate things, and that we appreciate the value of what we purchase or what we pay for or the things that we do, and start also seeing how we have goods and services, maybe not paid directly by us, but maybe some things paid by us, some things thanks to life in general in your context. But all of this is this sensation of having resources, having in your life this capacity of seeing how much your money, your time, your energy is providing to you through what you pay for, but also through indirect ways, through people, through life surprises, through opportunities. So the same way that you would feel very bad if you had your whole week, every hour super booked and nothing free and nothing hold for you, the same way is the feeling when your money just come and go and you don't have anything with you in the day-to-day basis. And if you want to expand this capacity, you need to learn to keep money with you. If you really want to build a core infrastructure in your life, if you want to achieve big dreams, it's important that you learn to hold money with you. Um, so this is a practice, an energetic practice to try to have money flowing in more than it flows out. Even in the most difficult situations, if you are receiving 100 and you need to pay for everything optimized 99, at least $1, at least one of your money to keep with you, like, and start getting comfortable with the idea of having some money with you, taking care of it, deciding where to put it. This part we are going to talk in the next session, but today we are going to talk more about the depth and the type of goals that we can take in mind for for this money that you're gonna hold with you. It's not that, it's more related to the personality of people if they feel comfortable just having money with them, but is general in general for everyone is very good to keep some goals on mind and focus the money through those goals, and these things are more motivating, maybe more organized. But the point is, one way or the other, start having this sensation of how you can keep more money with you than what you put outside without becoming obsessive, and at the same time enjoying your life in a very balanced and healthy way. So that's the challenge, and that's the beauty at the same time. That's the game of this dance between enjoyment and savings. And basically what we are basically what we are doing is postponing a bit the enjoyment, which is also a good practice for self-regulation and for self-love and self-care. Like, learn to have some things in the present and also save some enjoyment for the future. So we love money, then we let money stay with us. And this is the most important thing. Like, sometimes we are in situations that we have these really good opportunities, but it means that we are gonna get into debt and things like that. And if you really think it like energetically, how much it costs for you, maybe it's better just to save, wait, and then enjoy later the things. You will have to find that balance between, like, inside you, within you. Um, but yeah, keep these principles on mind, and then maybe this is gonna guide your decisions in a nicer way in life. Another trick is, like, saving doesn't mean that you have to be cheap. There is some examples, for instance, like if you have to do a very big travel where you need to take a lot of things with you, and maybe you need 2, 3 bags checked in the flight, for instance. Maybe it's better to buy a first class ticket in those situations. Of course, if I am just with my carry-on, maybe that's not the case, but sometimes we think that we have to go for the lowest price to be able to save, and sometimes there are other ways to optimize that also give you a nice experience in life. So this is an example that happened to a friend, and I found it very, very nice. And then the other nice example is that sometimes it's better to pay a bit more for good quality on things than paying cheap and then having to buy again and again and again very constantly. When for instance this happen a lot is with clothes. Sometimes we find very good deals and we buy things, but then they are damaged after 3 washes, and then you have to buy again and again and again. And all this money is causing more garbage to the planet, and also in the end you're gonna spend the same or more than if you buy something in good quality from the beginning. So start trying to think like what things can you optimize without being cheap with yourself, without compromising quality, without making more contamination in the planet, without being uncomfortable in situations. So try to like explore around, and maybe you find very nice ways to optimize how you use your money that also feel good in quality of life. And the other thing is accumulation doesn't mean good quality of life. This specifically means the more things you have doesn't necessarily mean better life, because the more things that you have, the more things that have you, the more things you have to clean, the more things you have to take care of, the more things that you are concerned about. So there is every single thing that we have, they require something from us, like the cleaning or the use itself. So it's important to start thinking of these things, because sometimes you can skip a lot of purchases just because you want to optimize how much of your future time you want to put on these things. And then you're gonna save more money, probably have the best of the best things that you want in life instead of all the things that you want in life. This also happens with experiences, like instead of going to bunch of little trips, maybe you can focus on that big dream thing that you want, and do some fewer of the smaller ones, and then you have this big experience in, and also some of like the best of the smaller experiences. And those type of tricks are the ways that we have to organize ourselves inside, to be able to open this space for money to flow in, to be able to save at the same time, having a good quality of life, and then also experience the world and taking care of your future, you know. So these three core things in the mindset and the energetics and the behaviors are super critical. So right now I want you to stop for a moment and reflect on these three focuses on savings and enjoyment in life so far, and put in the comments or for yourself if there are other ways that you can see savings, take care of savings that are more empowering, as we just saw with these three approaches. Just pause the video while you do that and then play it again. And then in the coming slides, I want you to we are gonna explore some goals depending on certain categories of the budget. And I want you to start thinking like in a paper while we see the things, which ones are your goals? If you have considered them, are they in the appropriate range, or you can improve how you were thinking of those, or if you haven't thought about that before, how you can think of them. So the first one is the savings that we talk in the taxes of the income. In the session of income, we talk that there are two type of things that can happen with the income, and it's cases where the taxes that are withholding the whoever is paying us this income, maybe those taxes are not full or not the whole rate um, that we are gonna have to pay. So maybe we need to save some extra for fulfilling the taxes obligations that we have, and so that will be a savings, right? While the moment of paying that to the government arrives. The other that can happen is that maybe there are deductions that in a full, complete like in a full, complete job, the administrative people of the job would take care of, but for some reason you have to take care of yourself. So, for example, in my case, while I was in the USA, I had to think if I still wanted the public program in my home country to there is a public program for retirement that works very directly with your any job that you have. And when I came to study in the US, I had to think if I wanted to keep that program, to keep paying for that program, because I was gonna be having income, but there was no direct relationship with the job and the government anymore. So it was up to me if I wanted that time of my work um, abroad, if I wanted that time to count in that program. And to do that, I had to pay my part of that by myself. So this was a deduction that I had on my charge that if I were in Colombia, for instance, in my home country, it would be automatic from the job. But because I was abroad, it was on my responsibility to do those calculations and send that money. So though that maybe saving depending on what you are gonna pay for, or maybe it's just another expense that you're gonna have every month, and that you will have to organize that because this part affects the net income, which is the one that we are working with um, in this scenario. So this is the first one. And then the second one is the that we already saw in previous sessions is the expected needs. Oh, I call it this way because there are things that these are things that we expect. My glasses renewal, I know it happens every year, every 2 years. The phones, we know that they last around in depending on the company, but like they normally have certain amount of time that they are working properly. Computers, clothes, stuff like that. So even though they don't happen monthly, we can take them into account to really start saving for that. But these are not savings that we are going to use for other things. These are for expected needs that we can plan, and that um, when they happen, maintenance for the car, insurances, things like that, we don't have to pretend that these were emergencies and use our emergency fund or things like that, because they actually were expected and we prepare for them, and then they are accounted for, but they are also savings because as we are not paying for that monthly, we have to keep them. And so this is another type of this is at least what everyone is gonna have as savings if they organize properly their expenses. And then we also talk um, about the emergency fund or transitions fund or peace fund, this fund that is for the unexpected things or the job transition. So um, actually, maybe, for instance, here we could call it like that, like um, unexpected um, transitions fund. You see, like as I always say, you put the names that you like the most. um, so in this case, is you have this fund that is right for these emergencies, and normally we are gonna save 5% of our income for this part or more if we are really focusing on this. Um, and then these three are gonna be our core savings categories in minimum. Like even if we have debts, and we are paying them, we already know because we explained it in the debts session how important is to still have the unexpected or transitions fund. And then we just talk about the other types, which also we expanded in the previous sessions. So it's like at least we will have that. So if you don't have yet these savings, it's because maybe you don't need to do extra deductions or taxes from your income, that's okay. But the other two, why? Because nobody have no expense that is like every 3 months or 6 months or that year or something, or maybe it's a very rare case, but like double check. And then the unexpected transitions fund, everyone has unexpected needs. So this should exist. So those three are the basic. I know so far we haven't really expanded on the unexpected or transitions fund more than the minimum requirements and the minimum focus. Um, but today we are going to expand more on this and like how much and all these things. So, but for now, it's just this in general that we have talked for you to double check that you have this savings cover. But I want to expand on this a bit more. So there are different type of expected needs that we have. One is we have a target. For instance, I know I have to pay every 3 months my psychology therapy and because I buy packages. So I know how much I need and I know I pay it every 3 months, for instance. So I would take the total of the value divided by the amount of months before the next payment. So in this case, I will have to take the whole thing and divide it by 3 months and then save every month for that and then pay. If it was every 6 months, then I would have to divide by 6. So it like some of these expenses have to do with how many months are involved. The other way is that if we don't know any target, I have researched a bit about healthy percentages from income that we should save for those things. And you can see these things in the comments of the budgeting. So remembering this template that I have created for all of us mm, in the page of the budget, and you can use this as a guide, even if you are doing it by paper and creating your own design. You can take these formulas for you, and then what you want to do is to start checking if there is any suggested percentages. So, for instance, we are saying that groceries normally is 10 or 15% of the income. So maybe you can double check how much is that percentage versus how much you actually spend. Um, if you are above, maybe try to optimize better your groceries, or if you are in the same range, it's okay, or if doesn't reflect your reality, at least you check it. There are other things like, for instance, the outfits. There are some suggested here. I researched this online, optimizing the information around and trying it for myself and seeing if it felt accurate and realistic. But you can also double check if you want to find different. But I really feel that this is a good guidance that I have created. And in this case, for instance, the conclusion from all these sources were that um, maybe 2% of the outfit, 2% of your income should go to outfits, things, minimum 3 to 5% standard, and 7% maximum if you are very fashionist. But then this gives you a guidance, like if I am earning low, but like I'm spending a lot in clothes, maybe that's not the most appropriate way. And maybe I need to think of how to increase the income or not, or So it's super, super important that you see these guidances, um, and then you decide which apply for you or not. And this is the part that is through suggested percentages of income. And then there are also special cases mm, where the same case provides you with some targets, and you will have to decide which target is appropriate for you. So this applies to gear and tech, for instance. You also find this in the template as in this page that is called financial targets. And here is, as you see, they have the same colors from the budget in the letters. So you know that this part is the one that is about the monthly needs. So this is the same table, but I want to show you that this has comments of what was the conclusion about the what this should cover, right? So I'm going to explain it in the presentation, but I want to show you where you can find it beyond here, especially where you can read those comments. But basically, there are 5 levels that I built as guidance, like the starter, the basic, the standard, the strong, and best. So for Gear and Tech, you can save as you can monthly, um, but also align to a target. Normally, you will have to decide if this is a target that you want to achieve every 2 years or every year, depending on what you want. Gear and tech, as we talk in that session, refers to phones, computers, backpacks, things like that like are gear and technology. Subscriptions to um, software that maybe help you, anything like that. So the, the smaller level of that is like 300. Think of a very cheap phone or like, you know, then the basic, more in the middle of this, the standard, the strong, the best. So this is how this works. So you will have to choose which is gonna be your target, which level. For car maintenance, it's gonna depend on the how old your car is, and then which level you wanna have in that coming need. Then home items, like what you use, this applies to renters and to owners, like appliances for cooking or anything that you may need in your house, fixing things maybe, but very basic, not like the owner's responsibility, but more like the people who is living in the house. Um, so you also can choose, and you don't have to choose the same level for all of them. You can choose maybe the car you want to be in the standard or the strong, but maybe the gear you want to be in the basic, or maybe the home you want to be in the starter because you really don't use much things. You can play with these type of goals. And then for home maintenance, it's gonna be also depending on how old the house is, and then you have also this, and you have the comments available in the template. So, for the unexpected transitions emergency fund, we also have different levels, but these have specific things to consider. So, the whole emergency funds in reality have 3 levels. One that is for the basic emergencies and randomness of life, and then we have other things. So, for the first one, the idea is that we have between 500 and blah, blah, blah. And then for the work safety, we have, and then the last part is the work safety. And here, so for the unexpected transitions emergency fund, we have like 3 milestones. The first one is the emergencies. This can be like the basic emergencies in life, the basic randomness of life. For this one, we have the basic and the standard levels. So it's like recommended that is between 500 and $1,000 that you have in your emergency fund minimum, even if you are in debt, even if you are in difficult times, like trying to build these. There are even programs that help with this, but like trying to build this through time is super, super important as soon as you can do it, as quick as you can do it, because this is gonna be your cushioning for any unexpected things in life, and this really happens total the whole time. We have randomness in life in general, and so if we already took into account the expected things that are not monthly but are coming during the year, and also deductions, and then we are gonna truly be covered by randomness and by basic life in the present by having this minimum fund of 500 to $1,000. But then the the top, the goal, is actually reach 3 to 6 months of viral minimum wage. What I mean by my viral minimum wage is that your monthly needs, you take it as your core budgeting, and then you add 5% for minimum joy and 10 or 5% for minimum savings. Um, and then you have this value that is your viral minimum wage. And then if you get around 3 to 6 months of this, you are covered by like for a lot of situations and job transitions and things like that. If you don't live in a country that manage dollars, what you can see is that your basic emergency fund is gonna be 1 to 2 minimum salaries, and then the same target for the maximum. But in the middle, there is a special case that is how much you will have to pay if you had an accident or something in your health situation that is very difficult. What is that maximum copay that you would pay in your insurance or your health coverage? And then start playing by like how much you consider that you need to save for different levels of this fund, and which is maximum between the 3 to 6 months or not, because that's the suggested cap for this fund. So you will have to decide some things here, but like what you know is that you have these minimums for this emergency fund, and you also have the goals. And the other special case is if you want to have some transition time before you um, maybe get again into facing the transition that you are. Maybe you can add some months for really having time off. And then if you want to start a business or stuff like that, is super recommended, and the best entrepreneur experiences happen that I have studied and heard of when you actually have savings for a year of your vital needs, and then you can really focus without being compromising your safety for these new paths that you maybe take in your job area of your life. Um, so the most important thing here is that we need to refill it every time that we use it. That's why I found that it's a very good strategy to always keep this 5% that is recommended for the emergency funds monthly budgeted. And if non-emergency happen during that month, or unexpected or anything weird happen during that month, then you have that as an extra income. But if something happened, then you can refill it right away. And there is another thing that is important to take here into account, and is if your job have these programs that they save on your behalf in case that you lose your job, then or you have a big thing to, yeah, like normally is to protect you from unemployment. So if you have any type of unemployment income that you can consider, then you can compute it and put it part like as part of this fund, even if you don't have it like yourself. So this is the most sustainable strategy that I have found, but if you wanna organize it better for you, that's okay too. Mm, and the most important thing here in the mindset, in the energetics, is you are not attracting bad things for having an emergency fund. If you don't like that fund, that name, just change it. Like peace fund, I have heard of, or the way that I call it now, like unexpected needs. You call it the way that you feel more empowered, but the point is you're being realistic. It's not that you're being pessimistic or anything like that. You're being realistic. It's not that you are being pessimistic or anything like that. You are being realistic. So we consider and prepare for the worst case scenario, but we focus on the best possible outcome. Um, so so far, then we have um, these three savings that are the main ones: the income, the budget, the basics. And now we are going to talk about the savings that are for expanding our life. So here's where we talk about the future and the dreams. And that order is important because the same way that we are securing first what we need in the present, optimizing that, the same way we should secure our future. And then from that, start organizing things. And this is where the money management starts being super rewarding because it's like those efforts, those things start to make sense, start to build momentum, start to build life for the future. If you are in a family budget, what is suggested for this expanding savings is that everyone that is in charge of the house, or depending on the age of your children, also your children, if you have, but like everyone in the house, independently of um, how much each person is putting, everyone who is in charge in the house, or also kids, as I am saying, you all should have an equally assigned savings for individual purposes. So this is in the case that you are using family budget where all the income is put as family income. Then some part of this has to be in agreement that everyone in the house receives this monthly for savings. This is fair as far as the whole charge of the house is shared in a fair way. Fair doesn't mean equal all the time. Fair doesn't mean 50-50. Fair doesn't mean those things. Fair means that the best that each person can do, they are doing it, that even if it's indirectly or directly how they are bringing expansion or growth to a house or care to a house is valued. And then as everyone is working as a team, then that's why it's fair to like send to each person the same capacity for savings, and then each person is gonna decide what to save that for. So this is one part. And we are gonna find this in the budget like this. So in the savings part, and I'm gonna just show the template. So if you're doing in paper, you need to create a savings area, right? As I showed in the beginning, we have three areas. One is the needs that we can see here. The other is the debts that we just talked about at the previous session. And then right now we are talking about savings, which is this blue area. And then we have the joy, which is this green area. And then when we have these savings, so if you're doing it in paper, you would need to put kind of these three categories and start with this. So the unexpected needs is recommended that is about 5% of your income. But if you are focusing on building this as soon as possible, then you can go for more, like even like much more than 20% if you can. Like the sooner you can build it, the better for you. Um, so this is the main first savings. Everyone should focus on this. These are the savings that everyone should do, unexpected. Then for the future, we can talk about investments, which are for retirement, and also if you want to have if you want to own a home, this would be there too. They are related. They should in general be being done together, but it's also up to you how much you want to optimize your things and in which order you want to do it. But keeping in mind that in the long term, the idea is that your investments are diversified. So if you are going to focus only on one goal, um, make sure that that's not going to be the long-term situation, that you really consider a lot of things. We are going to talk more about this in the last session of the program, which is the extra session for testimonials. But the most important thing here is homes normally work as an investment, so they are going to be in harmony with your retirement plan. This is when we are talking about the future itself. And then we can have dreams that are like core savings that are related to life infrastructure, that don't provide you exact like earnings, financially speaking, directly expected, but they do bring you stability, capacity, opportunities, growth that pushes your life to a better quality. And one example of this is education, when there are big things of education beyond personal growth, or really cars, maybe if you are in a situation where this is actually infrastructure thing in your life and not something like to 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 play, because then it would be from joy, not from core savings, in this way that we can see it. And then yeah, basically you have these two type of things, and so you have the basic unexpected needs, and then you have your future, and then you have your dreams. And as I said before, these unexpected needs are gonna become extra money monthly if no randomness happen. But if it happen, then this is gonna be your source to put back in that emergency fund um, until you have it like fulfilled again. If you get retirement deductions from your gross salary, you can also take this into account to calculate like how much more you will need um, to invest. As I said, we are gonna explain this part better in the future, but like here you can consider that as part of what you're saving, only and only if you can count on that in the future. So with these three categories, you can start like really playing on what is important to save for and like how much you can save for. And so in these rules of or guidance that we have about like the 50-20-30 guidance rule, here the idea is that this savings part take around 20% of your budget in the best case scenario. But the smaller that you can save, the more you're gonna focus on your emergency fund, your unexpected needs fund, um, probably to certain categories. This is gonna be your own decisions. And then you will also have to decide how you're gonna plan for your retirement, for your old self, wellness, welfare, well-being. And this is this part where you wanna have that conversation with yourself, and if you have coaching or something with, but mainly with yourself in the end. And then we have joy. Joy is everywhere in the budget. Joy is in the way that we enjoy the present needs that we have, the house where we live, the food that we eat, the appointments that we have in our health, the transportation that we use, the clothes that we have, every single thing that you are using your money for, you can enjoy it. So that's like the first way of joy. The other is gratitude when you are paying your debts or you are working on some personal growth or things like that. You can appreciate that experience that you had, learn, grow, improve your decision making, but you also can connect with that part. You can daydream with your goals when you are like saving for your retirement, saving for your core infrastructure, like enjoy it really. Also, we are gonna see some savings for enjoyment themselves. And so if you are remember the sentence that I told you in another session is like, if we are already safe for the things, then the only thing left is to enjoy it. But in the process of saving, we can daydream with these things that we are building. And then the way that I suggest is like, okay, if we have this suggested pattern that is like 50% of our income goes to needs maximum, ideally, 20% goes to savings, ideally. And then joy or fun and wants, as is usually called, would be 30% right. The way that I suggest you to organize this part is take 1/3 for your monthly random fun, um, take another third for experiences, and take another for magic money. You can put donations anywhere here that you feel, because when you donate money, you are feeling this enjoyment. You can also see it as a need, but this is gonna depend on how you see it, where you put it. Like if you put it in a need, or an administrative need, um, or if you put it like a joy thing that you are like sharing this money that is to enjoy and you are sharing this part. But if you are short of money or you don't connect with this way of donations, remember that you can also donate your listening, you donate your cooking, volunteer for things, donate your time, donate your energy. Like there are so many ways. The point is where you are abundant. And then from there, you can donate things. You can donate nice comments, you can donate, like try to think where you can expand your heart on. And if you can donate money, that's also nice. So where are you gonna put it? Are you gonna put it as an administrative need? Are you gonna put it from your monthly fund? Are you gonna divide joy in 4 categories and save for donations one of them? Like one, like 25% of your joy money, or how are you gonna do it? So the way that I manage right now is I take it as a monthly fund money, and every month I know that I have certain amount for donations, and it's like every month I feel what is it for. Or if I cannot donate, I see how I can help that month. Um, then the experience part, I suggest that we put it for travels, for New Year's things, for Christmas celebrations, and all these as like experiences that are beyond the monthly basis or that are a bit bigger than them. We can have it here. And then magic money is this like extra thing that I suggest that we put for special things. Special things can be to achieve quicker my other dreams, or can be, oh, I have this opportunity that is a nice experience and I want to upgrade something there, or maybe we have saved for the house, for instance, but then there is a house with a chimney that make it more special, and we have this magic money that we can complete um, this money for this big dream. So the idea of magic money is like don't put any um, permanent goal for this money, but through time play with it. Like for instance, maybe for some time is the money that you put extra for your emergency fund. Maybe in the future is the money that you put for the car that you want to have. And so maybe you can be doing your retirement thing and also your car, because now the car money comes from the magic money, or you can combine them and like go quicker to things. But like every certain time you are gonna decide what is the focus or your magic money, or if it's gonna be there untouched, and one day you're gonna feel in your heart what is it for. So this magic part I love. I really feel that is a very nice way to put energetics into our budget, and to also have this part that makes us like, okay, now I want this for this, now I want this for that, and like play around and still have savings for experiences, and I still have savings for my retirement, and I still have my needs fulfilled in my emergency fund. And and this is where the things start to be interesting, because it's like life and me with my management, we are both playing this guidance and doing our part, and then having the resources to move through life. And the other way that we can have fun, joy in the money process is when we do the check-ins of the money, that we can call it money dates or money check-ins. Mm, these ones are those moments, hopefully monthly, where we see, check our numbers, check our accounts, and double check that expenses and things make sense. That, but we can do this with a coffee, with a nice environment, in a nice time of the day, and really with nice light, with flowers, with nice music, and maybe even like with our partners and each person doing their own numbers, or together if it's a family budget, but like we can put also joy there. And then maybe if at some point we find that we have a hobby that maybe we can monetize and have extra income from our hobbies, that's another way to bring joy in the process of money. Not only to enjoy our hobbies, but also to maybe have extra income through our enjoyment and things like that. So the spectrum of how joy is part of our budgeting is broad, is everywhere, it's just in different ways. But the most important is that we open ourselves to joy and to magic, and then we start playing with this in the way that we organize our money. So joy is this green part that I showed you before, and here is where I show you in the present, in the experiences, and the magic. Um, so in the present, it's gonna be those Netflix things, like subscriptions that are for enjoyment, music, donations, the way that I organize it, and enjoyment itself. Then experiences for trips, years, celebrations, these things, and then magic for what I just explained. And in this way, you have this money really organized, and having these two savings together, the one that is for joy and the one that is for core dreams, infrastructure, retirement, safety. And you have these two types of savings, and a lot of people with this is gonna stop with this confusion that I see a lot in young people like my age, and they think that saving for a trip is saving. And yes, it's saving, but it's just for the joy part. You are leaving the whole other part of the safety away. When we save for safety and also for joy, then we have a very nice strategy to savings. So in the end, what we have, we have this whole things that we are saving from the income, if applicable, then the expected needs, then the unexpected needs, then the dreams in the future, and then the experiences, and then the magic. And this is the whole savings that we have. These categories are the savings that we have. And this is a very nice way to see our savings and our accounts. And even if you can name your accounts with these different names, or combine things, for instance, income, responsibilities, and expected needs in one bank account, and then unexpected in another bank account, and then dreams, and then future, and then experiences, and then magic. Yes, maybe you have five accounts, but you also see the numbers properly instead of seeing five numbers that that if you put together is a lot of money, and then you start playing with money that you shouldn't, or things like that. Of course, if you are in a context where having different accounts means more fees or more taxes, or is not really efficient for you, you can always simply not depend on those numbers that you see there, but having a paper or a template where you follow your totals. But the point is that you can see this separated in your brain and in your documents, so that you really can start using the money that is for, and not mixing things around that are not healthy for you. And if you are in family budget, it's important that you also have a specific amount of joy for personal joy. Like there is like say like joy for the family that comes from this blended income, but then each person should have their own money for joy as well. Um, when we achieve this, and in this way, what happens is that no, there is no more leaking energy, no more leaking money, no more leaking efforts. If we have these whole things, this whole spectrum in our brains and in our money organization for the savings, is nice, is fun, is like has purposes, not specific purposes, but like purposes in general. And then there is no more leaking money. You have optimized everything. You can just follow your own system and enjoy your life. Um, so when you organize this way, your money, you can start creating balances like this, or maybe you can separate magic from experiences, or what I am trying to say, or if you have only one bank account, that's it. But what I'm trying to say is like you can go to create like an extra table where you calculate, and it's here below in the template, but you can of course replicate this by hand with your own decorations and things. And it's where you are gonna count, okay, for expected and retirement, for instance, I need to send, and you are gonna check what things are for savings. That's why I always suggest to use a different color for what you are gonna save. Um, let's say that I am saving for three type of things. So I add how much is that. So every month I only need to send that money, the amount directly. If I cannot automate that, okay. If I need to update here, like for instance, what is the percentage shared of the house that month, if I am handling family budget that way, then we can do our calculations of what is that month, and then we can just add them to the account that we need to send that money for, and calculate like, okay, for these banks, for these bank accounts, I need to send this money, send this money, send this money. And this helps to do it quickly. Same with debts, maybe for yourself or for others, but that would be like a normal payment probably. So, but sometimes we kind of owe to ourselves for some weird things that happen in life sometimes. This happens, for instance, when um, you maybe you had to pay something in advance, but you were planning on saving for this for 3 months, and this is for sure that it's gonna happen. So maybe you had to borrow from some account this quick money, and then you're gonna pay to yourself very quickly. This is the only way that happens. For instance, if you had to pay something in advance, that is not a big thing. That is kind of um, safe in the way that you expect that you can actually pay that money in the next 2 or 3 months. Then maybe you have these debts to yourself, and you can put there if you need it. For these money movements, if you start seeing properly, this is different from going and checking how are your balances or things like that. This is how much money I need to save. Monthly, I make the calculations for that to be successful, and I send it to the bank account, even either because I do quickly the last calculations if I need to check shared things or stuff like that, or maybe I have to do manually for some reason, or maybe you can actually automatize this in your bank accounts as a auto saving. Uh, the way that you decide, this is the only thing that you need to do. Um, uh, for this purpose, specific to move the savings somewhere. So help yourself with reminders, with notes, with auto savings, however it helps you. And then the other thing that you can use is here in the template, and you can of course replicate it in paper with your own decorations and everything, is the balance page. In the debt part, we talk about this first area, but now we are talking about this second and last area. I just put an extra space here if you wanted to put properties or things like that. That's not part of the budgeting, but like if you wanna have some record thing there for some reason, that's the space for that. You can replicate it. But in this table, what you are seeing is that you can compute how much you have in your own care, which is this dark yellow area, or that are elsewhere, either in another type of account that is not direct use every month, or because it's taken care of by someone else. And then you have your goals if you want to track them, which is very useful. So, for instance, you chose that for expected needs, you want to achieve for the car maintenance the level, the level of the goal that is the standard goal, and then you can put it here once you make those decisions, and then you can track how much you have achieved of that, and you also can track what is, okay, I'm in the standard level, but maybe after I achieve that I want to go to a strong level or things like that. So you can see here, so the way that I use it, or and that of course I suggest to use it, is that in this part, you in your care part, that you mm, put everything that is like on your direct management and usual management. And then elsewhere, you're gonna put things that you wanna keep separated a bit from your money, or like. And then what I suggested to do is in the so in this dark part you put your accounting, right? Like every month you put. So the trick here is every time that you put money in your bank account, you also put it in the balances. Because probably unless you have pockets or things like that in your bank accounts, it's gonna be hard to organize in this deep of detail your savings. So it's better to have a paper, a document where or a page in this template where you can track your totals and where how you have used them, and then when you use them you will have to decrease here and also pay from that saving account the money, and when you put money for the savings you have to put them in your balance and in the bank account that reflects that. And this is another thing that you are gonna have to remind yourself of doing. Maybe you can take notes during the month, and then in the check-in date you have it properly, or maybe you do it after each transaction, or maybe you do it weekly or monthly. So you will need have it here. And then the last thing is you will have, if you next session we are going to talk about where to put the savings, but one of the good places to put savings, at least in the beginning and the ones that are in for short term, is in the high yield savings accounts. So if you are earning yield monthly, means that you have an extra income. So you will have to either formulate that everything that is in certain categories automatically, when you put your numbers automatically, the tax is calculated, and then you will have to know like how much you are going to be saving every month, or you can calculate how much you earn it when you do your money check-ins, and calculate the taxes there and save for that. You will have to be mindful if you are progressing in the brackets of income, if maybe this extra income is meaning more taxes percentage or not, things like that. But the thing is, find a way that you like more to keep um, your taxes savings according to the incomes that you're getting. And so to finish this session, please just finish setting your current goals and your next steps for that. Um, when you are optimizing your savings, you're gonna maybe gonna come back to your monthly needs and maybe optimize a bit more there once you realize the relationship of the monthly needs with the savings and the enjoyment. Create reminders of what you need, um, to remember to move the monies, to keep it update, as I was saying. So please stop the video, do this part, and then share in the comments how you feel doing this exercise and how you're gonna be taking care of this in the coming months. And when you're done with that, please put in the comments too what is your key takeaway of today's session, what you learned, what is new, what is exciting, and I will be happy to read you. Thank you for being in this so important session, and please enjoy your process of balancing your money, your needs with your enjoyment and with your savings, and find your own ways to make it fun and to make it sustainable. I have shared what is the system that I have seen that works for myself and my coaches, and and I hope it inspires you to find your way. And so I hope you enjoy this and that you have a very nice rest of your day or your night whenever you're seeing this.